Welcome to Bringing the Band Back Together podcast, the podcast for tech nerds behind the scenes. We're talking audio, video, lighting, acoustics, system design, integration, and manufacturing. All the brains and hands that make live shows and permanent installs come to life. Whether you're an engineer, a rigging junkie, a DSP wizard, or just AV curious, this is your lane. I'm on this journey too, and we're learning from the people that are actually doing it. Real stories, real careers, real gear talk. Tap in, geek out, and maybe find your place in this crazy world of pro AV. Hey everybody, welcome to Bringing the Band Back Together for another episode. This episode, we have Lemoyne Alexander, and he is definitely a rock star. Hey man, what's up? How are you?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I thought it was important to start out with someone of your stature. We see some awards on the background there. We'll talk about a little bit of those. But
sure.
Could you tell us what your journey is and your musical journey started when you first sparked your love for music?
Well, I started off as, believe it or not, I was a little kid and I was doing vocals. I was in a vocal band with my brothers, and we had a family group together, and I think we did that for like about 2, maybe 3 years, and then I became a teenager and I started playing guitar. That's my main instrument. Once I started playing guitar, that was it. And then we felt like putting a band together, and I put a band together with one of my best friends, and I brought my brother in, and we had a whole full band then. And then we were playing funk then before I started playing rock.
What was the name of that band?
I always had rock in my ear.
Yeah. Huh? What was the name of that band?
Generation was the name of that band.
And the band in your background there, who's that?
That's State of Grace.
State of Grace.
Yeah, that's State of Grace. One of the last bands I worked with before I went solo. And we got about 2 million streams on a record that we did with Queen.
Wow.
On our second album. Yeah.
Nice.
Killer Queen.
What were some of the artists that that molded your, because we all have influences, I guess what I'm asking you. Who were your musical influences?
When I was a kid, when everybody else was listening to R&B and funk, I was listening to rock. And I knew I could play R&B and funk, but I knew I had surpassed it. And I wanted to get into a different realm of music, which happens to be rock. And I was listening to Led Zeppelin, the mainstream rock bands like Queen, Rolling Stones, bands like that really like took it to another level, way past funk. And that's where I wanted to be. Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, all these guys, and I followed them.
Did you find yourself kind of going with the times? I know one artist that's done that, and his legacy is still living, is David Bowie. So
yes.
Were you kind of a David Bowie flow, or you just kind of went with whatever the times were that were,
I started off as a guitar player, picking up anything and everything that was out there. And once I learned how to structure a guitar and become a guitar player, then I started making my own styles. And I created a style that has stayed with me for years, and I've implied it into my own music now as a rock artist and a rock guitarist, that somehow it works with me now. It works really well with me now. And people know who I am when they hear my playing, and they know who I am when they hear my voice.
Yeah, man, I have to say that my first impression was, man, he reminds me of Lenny Kravitz.
I get that all the time.
You get that all the time?
All the time. All the time.
But definitely it's a good thing. I love it. I mean, it's like, man, we need another Lenny Kravitz. He kind of just fell off the map there.
Yeah. You know, I love Lenny. I mean, I followed his career for years, and but there's other artists out there that's just like him that don't get to shine like he does, and his music transcends to a whole different genre, just like mine's.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be different than him, different than everybody that was out there, and I wanted to go back to a sound that we all grew up to and incorporate it into a new sound with today. And that's how I came up with my sound. Even though, my sound is more relevant to like a how would you put it? Like a retro, that every time you hear something of mine, it sound like something that was out before, because that's that era of music that I did, that back then and now, where it all works together now.
Well, it's just a mixture of your influences that mesh together. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not just Lenny Kravitz. I could probably name off a couple artists that it reminds me of. Uh, but
yeah.
Victim of Love is definitely a catchy tune. Just the riff, the lyrics.
That's one of my favorites. And to be honest with you, out of all of my songs, that song has the best solo. I love the solo that I did on that.
Yeah.
And it was a one take. I did it on one take.
Oh man, I'm an audio engineer. I don't play any instruments, so one taker is a nice thing.
Yeah,
Get you in, done, and
I was,
on the way with the next overdub.
yes, I was into it. I was feeling it, and it just happened. It happened real quick, and I was like, I'm going to keep it. And I did some of my songs like that too, but this one was like special to me, and I really enjoyed that song. Till this day, I listen to it. It's in my playlist.
So earlier in your career, you started off in a doo-wop group with your
Yeah,
brother. Could you explain that a little bit more?
that group was founded by my father. It was me, my brother, my little brother, and two friends. And he called us the Young Masters because he was basically trying to build a doo-wop group with me and my brothers during the doo-wop time. I mean, this was like at the tail end, maybe like the beginning of the 70s, like going into like 74, 75, somewhere around in there. And he wanted to mold us into he was more into vocals more than I was. I like music, instruments and everything, but he was a vocal, and my dad was great at vocals. And when he formed the group, we started getting a lot of attention because we was doing a lot of parties and block parties and little neighborhood gigs around the city. And it just, from that point on, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And my brothers followed me, and that's how we ended up in the band The Fascination, from Generation to The Fascination. And we got a record deal at Generation, and then we got another one with The Fascination. But it was fun. It was a part of growing up. But music has always been in my life since I can't even remember.
Going back that far, not to date you, but what was your first? Well, let's start. What was your first guitar?
My first guitar was a, believe it or not, I don't know the name of it. It was my uncle's guitar. It was beat up, old guitar, had no name, and it was sitting in the closet. I got suspended from school, and I was bored to death. And I went into the closet getting ready to leave, and I poked my finger looking for a coat. I poked my finger, and I didn't know what it was, and my hand bleed. And I moved the coats back, and it was this old beat up guitar. And I said, I ain't going nowhere. I grabbed the guitar, took it in the back, didn't know how to play, but I cleaned it up. I did everything to it to work it, and it still didn't work. And what I did was I took the guitar around the corner to a guitar shop, and he fixed it. And then he called me the following week and said, "Hey, your guitar is done." It was no, what, about $2 or $3. He fixed the pots, and cleaned it up, put some fresh strings on it. I still didn't know how to play. So I had a guitar, but it didn't have a name. It was one of those real old guitars that my uncle had. And I took it and I basically learned how to play from watching all the TV shows like Rock Concert and Midnight Special and all of that stuff. I was a little boy. I'm talking about, I can't even recall how old I was, but I know I was like no more than maybe 11 years old. And I was basically just picking up everything that was on TV. And that's how I taught myself how to play. And then as we grew as a band, I was still playing that same guitar. And my brother bought me a Fender Strat for my birthday. And that was my first real professional guitar.
Is that the moment that you felt like, man, I'm really doing this? When you got that
Yeah,
guitar?
that was the moment. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I was good at it. I knew that I was good at it. My brothers and everybody thought it's time for him to get a new guitar. And I didn't pay no attention to it until I walked down in the basement and my brother bought me a brand new guitar he saved up his money and bought me a guitar for my birthday, a professional guitar. I owe him that for that.
So your music is deeply personal. How do emotions
Yes.
and life experience shape your songwriting? Because you're not just a rock star; you're a songwriter. That's another title.
Yes. Um, let's see. All of my albums, even the stuff that I produced, because I was a producer first. Well, I was actually a singer. Then I went into producing and production with a lot of R&B and hip hop, and many artists that I produced back in those days. And I wrote half of those songs musically, and majority of the music, I would say 99% of the music was mine, and some lyrics that I wrote to participate in a song. But it wasn't until I got my own record deal that the duties was all on me. And I had to really surface and learn myself in order to understand what songwriting is for me as an artist. So I had to dig deep into my soul to find out what people want to hear, and do they want to hear it. And I need to be, because my dad used to teach me, he taught me as a songwriter that I need to be more closer to the people. Don't sing about me, but sing about what people need.
Right.
And I've always carried that with me as a songwriter. So I look at what's going on in the world and I write songs about it. Some of those songs that are on my first and second album was relatively close to personal things with me, but majority of what's going on in the world.
Did you start out in a cover band when you were younger, or was it all your own original stuff then as well with your dad?
Oh yeah, we start. I think everybody I know started off in a cover band.
Yeah.
We didn't start doing originals until, oh my God. Uh, whew. After I got into my first band, The Generation, I don't think we started doing originals until like about maybe 4 years after we started developing and writing. I remember writing my first song, and I was in high school when I did it, and I was scared to bring it to the band, and I brought it to the band like, man, you know, they don't want to hear it, and I had to force it to them to listen to them. Like, just listen. That's all you guys need to do is just listen to the song. And if you guys don't like it, then we won't rehearse it. And I played it for them, and they was like, "Yes, that's hot." And then that song went to the next song and the next song, and before you know it, our list of songs was half originals and half covers.
So that was the turning point to like, man, we might as well just go all the way now.
Yeah, my dad
Nice.
took us into the studio in '79. Or was it '79 or '80? Somewhere between those two. And he was ready. He kept saying, "You guys are ready now," and that's all he talked about. He kept saying that because I did a lot of demos. We back then we had these little 4-track cassettes, and I
Yeah.
would just basically write songs and do all my demos in there, and my dad heard it. I don't know how he got a hold to it, but when he got a hold to it, he was our manager, and he was like, "You guys are going to the studio. Lemoyne wrote some great songs, and we're going into the studio to cut them." And so we went into the studio and we cut a couple of songs, actually about 2 or 3 songs, with the engineer and the producers that work with Ohio Players. And they saw potential in us as a band, and they wanted to step on board to help with us. And my father was a little nervous about it, but he accepted it. And we were back and forth going into the studio, branding ourselves with originals. And he formed his own label. And because he didn't have a like a staff and all of that stuff, to move the record didn't do anything. And that's fine because we got it on the air on a neighborhood radio station, and people heard it in our neighborhood, but that was as far as it went. But from then on, I knew then that I'm going to write songs for myself and the band now. I don't want to do any more covers.
What is your creative process like? Do you start with lyrics? Do you start with a melody, or do you start with emotion?
Today, as a rock artist, rock guitarist, I start off all of my songs with guitar riffs. Everything. I have a riff first. I lay the riff down to, as you can see, my studio in the back here. I lay the riff down,
Mm-hmm.
and I usually I do a click track so I can make sure the timing is perfect. But I lay the riff down, and then I put drums up under it, and then I build the song on top of the riff, and I add everything to it from there. I play all of the instruments on all of my songs, all of them, and I do all the vocals and everything.
What song of
I
yours?
played.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I played on the first album, I think 25 or 26 instruments.
Wow. You're like a Billy Corrigan.
Yeah. I just got tired of waiting on people, and I had to learn how to do it myself. And I said, you know what, I could do this. And I did it. I did from the first album, Solitude, I played all the instruments. I did all the vocals, except I had some features on there, a saxophone player, a background vocalist, and I had a separate drummer come in and play on 2 songs. Three, actually 2 separate drummers, and they both played pretty well on on the first album. Second album, I did everything, including the drums.
Can you tell a story or share a story of one of your most personal songs and how it came together?
Oh wow. One of my favorite songs. I did a song, um, it's this song I did with Undeniable. I had wrote this song Undeniable, and my management at the time was good friends with the lead vocalist of Aerosmith.
Okay.
And they sent the track out to him, and he wanted to write on it. And he and I got it. We talked on the phone, and we emailed each other back and forth with the track and everything. And man, the ideas he came up with was perfect for what I was doing. So I had already demoed it and did the first verse, and he was supposed to take over the second verse. He got so excited about the song during his touring that he would try to do it remote, and it was too difficult for him. And then the label got involved in it, and it was just a big mess. And he had laid a demo down, and then after that, it got scratched, and I ended up just putting my second verse back on there because that was the last song on the album. And the record company was like, "We need this album done. When are you gonna get it finished?" And I just said, "Forget it. We can't wait on him. Steven is a busy man, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do another song when he's not busy."
And there's a
But that
science
was a good story.
sorry. there's a science
No,
behind
no, no. Go ahead.
there's a science behind what song goes on first and on the record and which one goes on second and the order,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, there are people who could sequence, they know how to sequence an album. Believe it or not, that's part of the artistic uh work on an album too, is
Right.
sequencing, because you can have the songs in the wrong order, and I had to learn how to sequence songs too, you know, and I did that as a rap producer back in the day. I put all your best. You don't put all your best up front, but you put your most intermediate songs up front, and then you slow it down in the middle, and then you put your best at the end.
Yeah,
I
club.
mean, that's the way I do it. A lot of people don't do it that way, but that's the way I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, club DJ will do the same thing. You don't start out with your favorites like the banger. You got to wait till the middle of the set.
Yeah, you don't put your banger up front.
Right,
Never do
right.
that.
But hey, if every
Because
song
then,
you write is
because
good,
once
then
they hear it, I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Once they hear it, then they don't want to hear nothing else. You got to get to the banger.
That's why the
So
headliner plays
I'm like, nah,
last.
I'm not putting that up front.
My friends that are headliners are like, man, I got to stay the whole gig. But I'm always there to
Yeah,
support when I can. Have you ever had
that's
any
good.
like struggles writing, writer's block, and like how did you overcome that? Just talking to other
You know,
songwriters out there.
somebody just asked me that. That's a good question, and yes, I've had. Well, when you look at writer's block is, for me, is different than what everybody else call writer's block. Writer's block for me is like, I'm not in, more so like I'm not in the mood.
Right.
But when I'm in the mood, I it comes out naturally. I'm not that guy that can sit somewhere and, hey, I think I'm gonna write a song. I don't write songs like that. What happens to me as a songwriter is I'll do all my music first, everything tracked out,
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
and then I'll listen to a track and say, okay, I want to work with this particular track, but I don't have anything. So I'll keep it in my head and I listen to it, and then all of a sudden, about 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe three, and I jump up and I run to the studio and I turn the mic on and I just start using melodies, and sometimes I'll have words and it just comes together. And I won't. I've never walked away from a song that was unfinished. I usually finish it when I start it, and then I come back and say, okay, this needs help. So let me take this out and put this in, and rearrange it, change this word or that, so I can balance the story. But that's basically how I write. I don't, I can't, I can't write like and then come in and read a song. It's just like when you see me singing a song, I'm actually writing it right there at the mic.
Can't force it; it just has to come naturally, right? You ever
Yeah.
felt really sad and like really depressed and written a song?
Yeah. Um, yeah, my first album was like that. When my father passed, um, I named the album after him. And Solitude was based on how I felt about him. And basically all of the songs kind of resonate about everything that me and him went through. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be making music. And he took me off the streets and he watched me carefully, um, groomed me, and bought equipment for us so we could play and just keep me drowned in the music. And he did a good job of it. 'Cause even when he got sick and I didn't even know it. I was on tour with the band back here. I didn't even know it. And when I found out about it, he had gotten cancer. He didn't want me to know because he didn't want me to stop what I was doing. But, you know, his biggest dream was for me to stop writing songs for everybody and basically go in the studio and do my own album. No band, no nothing, just me. He knew what I could do more so than I knew what I could do.
It's great to
And
have
I
a
was
father
always
role
scared
that
to do it.
It's definitely good to have a
Oh
father
yeah,
role like that. Yeah, it sounds like you had an
man, it was the
amazing father,
best.
man.
Yes, he was. And this is him right here.
Oh yeah, let me see.
I keep
Oh,
him.
okay,
I keep him with me all the time.
nice.
You know,
What's your father's name?
he's Oscar Smith.
Bring it down a little bit on the can. Yeah, Oscar Smith. Hey, Mr. Smith.
Oscar Smith. He was also a drummer at Chess and Chess Records. And if you see the instrument in his hand, he designed that. He designed
Oh,
a
okay.
kalimba on both sides.
Wow.
He could flip it over and plug it in as a you know into an amp.
Wow. It's wild.
Yeah, he was very creative. That's where I got it from.
Let's talk about the music industry. We've talked about writer's block, and we've talked about bringing where your upbringing is and your influence. The
Hmm.
music industry can be really tough. What are some of the
Yes, it
biggest
is.
obstacles that you've faced in your career?
That's really
You
funny
got a
because I'm
huge list, right?
yeah, I'm going through that right now. The biggest obstacle for me is this whole Spotify thing.
Oh,
This
yeah.
how they
Talk about that.
taken over the business and not report income to these hardworking musicians and artists out here in the world. You know, cutting a penny in half, and we're not getting the full amount of what we feel we deserve for the work we put into our, into our craft. It's not fair. And some conglomerate company has taken over pretty much the royalties of 100%, almost 99 to 100% of the artists that's out in the world. That's doing everything they can to make music and be broke doing it, spending all their money on it and not getting nothing in return. That's the biggest obstacle for me.
What can somebody do to counter that for you?
Well, this lady who's on the she's on the board,
On the board of what?
and I forgot her name, and she's a state she's with the state representative,
Okay.
and she is fighting for us. And I forgot her name. I wish if I didn't know, I would have remembered her name, so I make
I'll
sure
look it up and put it
I,
on the
I
screen.
speak of her.
I'll look it up and put it on the
Oh my
screen
God,
afterwards.
she is
Show some
fighting for us.
respect.
She's in court. She's trying to pass it to take off all of these companies away from us, keep them away from us, so we can earn our just due as an artist and performer and musician, and we get what's coming to us for all the work we put into it. She's trying to help us to make sure we get our money
Right now, how do you get your money
instead of
other than
these
it
companies.
trickling? I know it trickles from those
Huh?
places. I know it trickles or
Yes.
it rarely comes or whatever, but how are you staying afloat now? Are live shows your
Well,
breadwinner?
yeah, live shows is pretty much the biggest thing. But I was fortunate through the years as a producer growing up. Once, before Spotify and all these Apple took over, I was going through the trenches of the real record companies and the royalties and everything. And I survive off of royalties that I did for all the music that I produced with as a rap. I'm a rap producer back then,
Right.
and I did a lot of work back then for major record companies and major artists. And my biggest list of music was rap and some R&B and some hip hop. And I get royalties from that. I still get royalties from that. Also, I did 15 years with Oprah Winfrey, um, and I still get royalties for that too.
What does hip hop mean to you emotionally and creatively?
Well, there's a reason why I'm into rock right now, and the reason why I stepped away from millions and millions of dollars making I was at the peak of my career, and I walked away from it because it got to be I was around during that East Coast West Coast thing, and we lost Tupac and we lost Biggie Smalls, and some of my friends was getting murdered and people were killing themselves, all in the rap business. And even I almost lost my life. And at the time, when I had gotten to the point where it didn't matter about the money anymore, because I was doing it for the money at first, and then it was the integrity of the music part of it. And then it changed because it got to be dangerous.
Right.
And once they started getting to the point where it was getting dangerous, I stepped out and I got offers from everybody to produce their records, and I walked away.
So this
You
would be your
know, the
pivotal
last,
moment, right, in your career that changed
yeah,
everything.
this it literally, I was signed to Rap a Lot for years, and I walked away from everybody. You know, some of the biggest recording artists in the world came to me, and I said, "No, I'm done." And you know, I stepped down. I walked away from the rap, the whole music industry, and I took a year off. And I said, you know what? I don't know what I want to do, but I know that it's not going to be rap anymore. So I went back and I started playing my guitar. And I said, oh, this is fun. I remember when I used to play my guitar all the time. And then next thing you know, I was creating songs and I was doing demos, and I knew it. I said, this is it. I want to go back into rock. You know, I grew up listening to Aerosmith and all the big bands growing up. And I said, this is what I want to do. And then I created about an album's worth of demos. And then I met with this other guy, Ben, um, that guy right there.
His head's cut off,
And
but it's okay.
he's right there. Let's see.
Okay, there he is.
The bald head guy right there.
What's up, man?
he and he and I got together. He was with a band called Black Thumb, a metal band,
Okay.
and he left that band to be with me. And
Looks
he
like
and
the
I
dude off of
started
Fishbone.
this band. Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, he's a great bass player. He's a killer bass player.
If you told me he was on Fishbone,
And
I'd be tripping right now.
yeah, no. These guys are from Chicago, all of them. You know, I treasure these guys, man, because you know we had our ups and downs, but we stuck at it as a band. 10 years with this band.
You've been in.
And
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
go ahead.
This is like a delay. You've been in the industry, the business for a long time. What is one piece of advice that you wish you had earlier in your life?
I wish that I had to listen to my dad about the business. I never listened to him about the business. I had so much fun creating that the music business is what it's called, the music business, quote unquote, but I never listened to him. And I ended up losing a lot, not paying attention, and I got ripped off in a lot of situations that taught me, okay, enough is enough. Let me start paying attention to the business end. And I promise you, I think things would have been a lot smoother in my life had I listened to him.
I think
He wasn't the only one. It was a lot of people that was in the game was telling me, get your publishing, learn your publishing, learn this and learn that. It's not about music. You got to learn about the business too. So yeah, I regret that.
I think a lot of young artists can learn from that, should be able to learn from that statement right there. It is a business, and once you get to a point where you can where it's just tough because starting out you have to be everything. You have to be the creative, you have to be the promoter, you have to be the guitarist, you have to be everything, and then it gets to a point where you're like, okay, I'm going to start losing money. I need to hire an employee, and then that employee should be managing you to help you get the money. And then but there's plenty of stories about managers ripping off artists too, not just the record labels.
That was the point of me having my dad.
Right.
I trusted my father.
Yeah.
Because I knew he wasn't going to burn us. And, when my father walked away, it was due to the fact that, I started getting bigger and I needed more professional managers.
Right.
And, like the manager that I got right now, he's been with me through the band, State of Grace. And I still have him as a manager. And this is the reason why we're going through, we're having great success right now. And there was I would say maybe some years in between that he retired, and then he wanted to come back into the music business with me after I was with my last label. And then we got back together and we formed a little production company, and we started working on my new album. And they worked it and worked it and worked it. And, my song went #1 on the independent charts, the rock charts, for 2 weeks. And I was really surprised. Plus, I was inducted to the California Music Hall of Fame.
Ah, congratulations. What
Yeah.
what year was that?
That was last year, April 14th. But here it is right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's always nice to get recognition for sure. You've worked with a lot of.
It caught me by surprise, so I didn't even know. But
Okay.
when I found out about it, I was very, very honored.
You worked with a lot of big names.
Yes.
What would you say is the most important thing you learned from collaborating with those folks? Who was the artist?
I did a lot of people.
I mean, you got a lot under your belt, but
yeah.
you have a favorite, right?
A favorite? Let me think.
Or they're gonna hear this and go, "Hey, I thought I was your favorite."
I have multiple favorites,
Okay.
and most of them was rap that I work with. I was intrigued by a lot of rappers, and when I got the opportunity to work with them, it thrilled me because I didn't know that I would ever work with these guys.
You can go ahead and
I
name
don't know
drop
if you
now.
heard
Go
this.
ahead.
Gangstar. You remember Gangstar?
Gangstar? No, I can't say that I have. I like Mos Def a lot.
God.
I go back to Boogie Down Productions.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan. Run the Jewels and
Fresh.
Killer Mike.
I did a record with.
What's that?
Oh yeah.
You did a record with
I've
who?
been around, man. I did Dougie Fresh.
Okay. Right.
DMX.
Man.
Twister, Lazy Bone. To name a few.
You ever do anything with Cool Mo D?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
How about LL?
I was I was trying to. Right when I was at the point of retiring, that's when I got offers. Like, before Biggie Smalls died, I was getting ready to work with him. And when he died, my manager and lawyer, he was representing him, and we kind of like talked about that. Me doing the song for Biggie Smalls. Atron even called me about doing a song, which is Tupac's manager, about doing a song with Tupac too. But we never got to it. We never got a chance.
I got a question.
I even got a Prince story.
A Prince story? Tell me.
Real Prince
Let me
story.
hear some Prince story. Go for
it. This happened some years ago. In my highest form as a producer, I was really doing well. And the powers that be called me up and said, hey, he's representing Prince. And his office called me and asked me if Prince is looking for a programmer. You know what a programmer is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they asked me, would I be interested in working for Prince? And I was like, are you serious, Prince? I was like, I thought about it and I was excited about it. I said, I didn't have a complete answer. So there's like, are you serious? You got to think about it. And I was like, it's just odd. I don't know. I'm scared to death to work for this man. And I said, just give me a couple of days and let me think about it. And about 2 days later, they called me back and they asked me, do you want the job or not? Do I want to work for Prince? And I turned it down. I said, no, I can't do it. And because I looked at it as like, he is the highest, he is the GOAT. He is somebody that influenced me. I don't know if I want to work for him, because if I work for him, I'm going to see things, learn things that going to turn me off, that is going to make me dislike him. you know, and I'm gonna look at him totally different. Then I won't have nobody that I put in that pedestal for me to look up to. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to keep that. That's why I turned it down. I didn't want to work for
Do
him.
you regret it
And it was
now?
like I kind of I wish I had got an opportunity at least to do one or two songs for him, but you know, I it was just too much. That's something that I just, man, as soon as I got there, I probably would have froze up, you know, just being there. But you know, and like I said, he is the highest form of an artist to me, and I'm highly influenced by him. And to be able to work for him, I don't think I would have got no work done. So you know, and then like I said, I would have learned things about him that would change my perspective about him. And I always wanted to keep that respect for him. So I said, no, I couldn't do it. You know, even I don't. I think they told me how much I was getting paid, and to me, it wasn't even about the money. It wasn't enough, but I didn't care. But I didn't want to do it because of my own personal reasons. But yeah, that's the closest I ever came to working for Prince.
Man, it sounds like you should have took it.
Yeah. Everybody says that you should have took the job, and I was like, nah. I like it the way it is. I like looking up to him.
How important is having a musical family and a network in your career been to you?
How important it is to me?
Yeah, a sense of community, somewhere where you felt like you belonged, not an outsider.
That happened. It took a long time to get to that point where I felt comfortable about me being who I am in this whole conglomerate music business thing, because you know I strived, I worked real hard to get to this point where I am, and I'm comfortable where I am now. But you know, people always say, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, and it really doesn't. You have to really, really bust your ass out there to make it happen. And it's not for everyone. I mean, I believed in myself. My dad believed in me. That's all I needed, and I kept going and going and going when it got tough, when it got even bad, when I was hungry, you know, and I just kept going. I never stopped, and people thought I was crazy. You know, odd jobs here and there, didn't care. My focus wasn't nothing but music all the time, every time. So
So,
I'm proud to be where I am in this situation. You know, to me, it's all about the integrity of music, not the millions and millions of dollars that everybody gets. You know, I don't care about the money. The money is not important to me. Awards is not important to me. It's the integrity of the music. I want to go down. When I die, I want people to go to my catalog and listen to my music forever. That's all. So they can say, hey, this guy was here and he did great music. That's all I care about.
so what's next for you?
Um,
Got any upcoming
Me and my
releases
team.
or collaborations?
Yes, I have a new song coming out called Daydreaming. I mean, I don't know if you heard Insecurity, but Insecurity is
Yes.
my first single from Alone, the new album Alone, and that comes out next month. And the second single is Daydreaming, and I'm about to do some touring. I'm about to do some TV shows. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be on the Midday News WGN in Chicago, April 14th. And um, let's see, I'm going to be doing the Chicago White Sox, the national anthem,
Nice.
with my guitar. Um, I have some dates for the rest of the year, some festival gigs, and I got a couple of new videos that I'm going to be working on. So yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy. And also, there is a documentary of my career coming out soon.
Man, you're gonna be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame eventually. You gotta hold
I
out.
hope so.
Hopefully before you
Yeah, I just
pass.
got to hold out. Yeah,
So
I'm trying.
I've always I'm creating this podcast and everything I do on a creative level to create an impact for my children and generations to come. Looking back,
Right.
what do you hope your impact on music is, and the industry will be when they say,
Well, for my children are very proud of me. And I mean, I took them through hell and hot water when they were growing up. They hated me because I kept taking them to the studio. I get my kids, and I was a single parent at the time. And as they were growing up, I got a lot of offers to produce for major record companies. And I still remember till this day, I turned them all down because I had babies and they needed me. And I knew if I had signed all these contracts, I would have lost contact with my children. So I didn't do that. I waited until they got to be teenagers and they can take care of themselves. And then I looked at my offers and I went out there and I started doing my thing. But I really look at the fact that since they've been through everything that I've been through and they met a lot of the same people that I work with, because I would bring my children to the studio working with a major artist or whatever. They come to the studio, they be playing. They don't even know that's a celebrity. They don't care. And that's what I liked about it because it was raw and it was they was being themselves. And now they're older now and they're doing their own thing and everything. So I know that they're proud of me and I'm going to leave everything. My legacy is going to go to them when it's all over with. I mean, some of my songs was in their playlist, and I appreciate that because they supported me and I'm happy for that. That makes me feel good to know that regardless, my children have always had my back.
that's a great thing, man. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Before we close out, is there anything you'd like to share with your listeners, especially aspiring artists, about staying authentic and emotionally connected to your music or to their music?
Let me explain to you. I'm gonna say this. There's a lot of musicians, songwriters, and crafty singers out there, and they're not getting the opportunities that I got when I was in my prime and my younger days. Because a lot of these things have closed up. Mostly everything now is, internet and online and everything. So they have to really, really express themselves the, you know, a lot different than the way we used to do it. When I was younger, it was bands, it was garage shows. We play in garages, block parties and festivals and stuff like that to get noticed, and people don't do a lot of this stuff no more. So, I encourage up and coming musicians and singers and songwriters to just keep going, to forget about what everybody says. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I promise you, you're going to be heard. Everything is going to come to you. You work hard enough, you'll see the fruits of your labor. But if you give up, you'll never see it. And that's something that was hard for me at some points of my life. I'm not gonna lie. There's been plenty of times I felt like giving up, but I kept going. I kept going and going and going, and I'm just not. I just can't do it. I'm not a failure. Failure is not an option to me. I keep going, and I find new ways to reinvent myself every time. And that's what I suggest to all up and coming artists and singers and songwriters. Keep going.
It's very inspiring, man. I could say the same for this podcast. My wife always just says, you just go and jump in and do something. If it doesn't work, then you just figure out a way. I was like, that's how I have to be.
Yeah.
I have to, this podcast isn't the greatest right now, but in a year, you're going to be, I mean, the content and you're great. Don't get me wrong. But my quality and just my speaking ability is going to be greater in a year. And
most definitely. You keep going, you're going to get better.
I'm not going to give up, man.
You do.
I'm just going to keep going.
No, please don't. Because I want to be able to come back a year from now and we can talk about it.
You know what's great? I want to close this out with the story about how you and I met. We actually haven't really met in person. We were going to try to hook up in LA about a year and a half ago because we were both going to be out there at that time. We couldn't, but we met on social media. And we just started messaging back and forth. And then just recently you're like, hey man, I see you started a podcast. I'd love to be on there. And what better way to promote yourself, educate people, like just getting your name out there. I hope this podcast explodes with you as the co-pilot. And I really am grateful for you taking your time out of the day, man.
You're absolutely welcome. I want to say this, and then we can close it out. I do a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of shows, radio stuff, and everything to promote my records. And this one was special to me because I knew you. I had like you said, about a year and a half of talking back and forth with you. When you did your podcast, I was like, you know what? I wasn't feeling up to it because I got a lot more coming up. Instead, I got a lot of stuff scheduled between now and the next 3 to 6 weeks doing the same thing. But, I thought this would be a good idea with you because I know you're just getting started. And I was like, he's a good friend of mine. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. And it's on a Sunday.
On a Sunday night, yeah. I appreciate it, man.
Yes. You got it, man.
All right. Hey, everybody, if you have any questions for Lemoyne, leave them down in the comments below. Definitely buy his records. Don't listen to Spotify. I have to admit, man, I'm so sorry. I listened to him on Spotify. I'm going to go on Apple Music when we're done here and actually pay money. That helps you, right? Or just merch, or how could I help you get these people
listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying Spotify is a bad thing. It's a tool for musicians. All I'm saying is they don't pay the musicians for them to use the tool so we can get, what we earn from the work that we put out there. But, if that's the only way you can hear my music, that's fine with me. Because like I said, it's all about the integrity of the music for me. If I get a new fan from Spotify, that's fine with me. I prefer you guys to come to my shows and go to my website, which is LemoyneAlexander.com, and WeLemoyneAlexander.com.
I'll put it on the screen for you.
and you come to my website, you see all the good things that we're trying to do and my upcoming shows and most of my videos are all 3D animation. I'm going to do some live videos real soon, and this is what we're working on right now. But if Spotify is your go-to it. I'm honored that you find my music interesting enough to listen to it on Spotify, Apple, anywhere.
I was just saying I wanted to be a little bit more personal and actually put money towards it.
That's fine.
Spotify is fine.
I'd like that.
I guess I just don't like the fact of what you pointed about not being paid, and I take that a little personal. Yeah. So if there's a way that I can get you, slide you some more money that way.
Hey, like I said, we just need to fix the situation so these wonderful musicians and artists can, get their just due for this, because it's not fair. And these people work really, really hard, really hard. They give up their hard-earned money to make music so we can enjoy it. And they should be able to live off of it. We all should.
Well, hey, man, thank you for your time bringing the band back together. We'll bring you back in another year, and we'll talk about all this and the progress of where we've gone. I definitely want to still stay in contact with you. I don't want to wait a year. So.
No. We
yeah, I know.
I suggest that.
We don't have to talk every day.
I'm gonna hold that discount, like you just said. I'm gonna hold that up to you now.
Bring it.
Be prepared.
You got it. Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate you.